Let's talk about LEGO games. Growing up, I loved them. I had the Star Wars series, Indiana Jones, Marvel, and DC, and I really enjoyed playing them. I loved the expanding roster of characters, the little small puzzles they had us do to progress the levels, and of course, humor. Especially when the characters couldn't talk, so they pretty much had to play charades with us during the cutscenes. My favorite part had to be the hub worlds. Ever since they started making them more interactive with small side missions and little Easter eggs, traversing through the hub worlds had been just as fun as playing the actual levels. Of course, there were other LEGO games that came out that I didn't mention, but those ones I either skipped or they came out when I stopped playing them. Not for any really bad reason, just either I wasn't into the property at the time, I wasn't interested in playing, and, well, I was broke. But I did enjoy watching other people play them through their walkthroughs. After LEGO Marvel though, I stopped buying LEGO games altogether. I was just simply not in the mood to play them anymore. Once again, not for any real bad reason, but it was just my time. But after all these years, I would, without hesitation, pick up a controller for a LEGO game if that game was Doctor Who. Seriously, I would be one of the first ones to buy a Doctor Who LEGO game, because it really is an ideal franchise to make LEGO, like Marvel or DC. And like these two franchises, Doctor Who has collected many characters, vehicles, settings, and plots that could be used to make a game that both old, new fans, and even people just interested in LEGO games can enjoy. So in this video, I'll be going over how I think a LEGO Doctor Who game would play out, including characters, settings, and most importantly, story. So what kind of story would this game have? Well, it'd definitely be an original story. This is a chance to tell a big Doctor Who story without worrying so much about budget. We could go anywhere in the universe, to any planet, encounter any villain or ally in civilization. So to go over something we've already seen and only in toy form, it'd be a bit of a waste, wouldn't it? So when talking about this, I'm not going to go crazy and explain every level in this game, but rather just give my overall idea for what a story could be. So to start with, yes, this will be a multi-Doctor story. That means you'll be seeing all the Doctors interacting with each other, with their companions of course. Now I want to include all the Doctors, but this will primarily be a modern Doctor Who story. So while the past Doctors will be in it, our main leads will be the 9th through 13th Doctors, and their companions. This is usually the case in LEGO games. While they do have a large cast, they tend to follow a selected group of people, whether that be the Avengers or the Justice League. This way players have a sense of stability and don't feel like they're just being jerked from one place to another. So for classic TARDIS crews, we'll have to meet them at the spot that the mission will take place and communicate with them via monitor. The game could make an excuse saying too many Doctors in one place in time and space for too long would make everything implode in itself. I feel like we could still have those interactions while at the same time not overbearing the player with 13, or if you want to go the extra mile, 15 voices all trying to sound right at the same time. As for who voices them, I'm honestly not convinced Peter Capaldi or Matt Smith would pop into a booth and start lending their voice talents. David Tennant might though, because he does do voice acting and he's done and is still doing voice work for Big Finish. And classic voice Doctor actors have no problem voice acting their Doctors as well. But the other Doctors will probably be replaced by Big Finish stars, who have already done great imitation of the on-screen actors before. The same goes for the companions of the Doctor. There have been a number of them who have come to Big Finish to voice their respective characters, but if not all of them can, the ones that can't could be replaced by their Big Finish imitators, and new voice actors. I'm sure TT Entertainment doesn't need Big Finish's permission for these actors, but if they do, then yeah, that might be difficult, but I don't see why they would. So if we're gonna have all these Doctors working together, it has to be to stop something big enough to warrant all of these people. No, it can't be the Daleks. No, it can't be the Master. And no, it can't be the Cybermen. It can't be villains we've seen over and over again. I mean, it can, but that's such an obvious way to do things. We've seen those villains try to destroy and reform the universe countless times. I think we should take this time to pull out the classic series actually. Look no further than the big head himself, Omega. The Doctors only fought him once in the TV series, and again in Big Finish, but that's not canon, so we're good. And for those who don't know, Omega is a Gallifreyan who was one of the founding fathers of time travel. He was betrayed and cast aside into another universe, and since then, he's had a hatred for Time Lords. The last time he and the Doctor met, he was trying to escape that universe and re-enter ours. But the Doctors, the third and second to be exact, stopped him and he's been trapped ever since. They could have Omega trying to bring his planet into our universe, and if they want to make it more personal, they could have Omega's plan include exchanging his planet for Earth's or something, or time and space could be fractured if Omega forces his way into our universe. Something like that. Someone like Omega is a big enough threat to get all the Doctors' attention. And just look at his dumb giant helmet. Just think of all the LEGO gags they can do with that thing. Now while I did say enemies like the Daleks or the Master would be obvious main villains, Having them as support villains would work just fine. In fact, they're great ways to get the Doctor's attention on the current threat. Why are all these villains acting up at once? Well, I guess we'll all need to find out. And the more villains they have, the more dangerous the main threat looks. You'll have these different levels that will have the Doctor face all of these different fan favorite villains, including some classic villains. This would be similar to Lego Batman or Marvel, where they have these smaller villains working with the main one because they were promised power. They could even have someone like the Master, while not working for Omega, could still be a problem because he's in the way of saving the universe somehow. You don't need all of these different species working for one man. They could be trying to get something out of it somehow. As far as companions go, I think pairing should be 9th Doctor Rose, 10th Doctor Donna, 11th Doctor Amy and Rory, 12th Doctor Clara, 13th Doctor TARDIS Trio.
But wait, what about Marta and Bill? Did you forget about them?
I have something for them too, don't worry. Marta would either be a part of the unit levels or Torchwood levels, because of her past team-ups with both of them. I'd probably pick Torchwood though, since they're the ones with their own spin-off. Bill could be Water Bill, which would be after traveling with the 12th Doctor. If she was Water Bill, she'd be a water character, which would be good for water puzzles. She'd be meeting the 12th Doctor before he meets her, but that's fine. These stories usually end with the younger Doctors losing their memories anyway, so it won't mess up the canon. And 13 will remember her, so there could still be that Doctor companion moment. That's another thing that the people could look forward to, the interactions. How would Clara interact with Amy, Rose interact with 11, etc, etc. Now if we look away from the Doctor and their companions, we also have some characters outside of the TARDIS team to use during levels. For one thing, we have the unit team, which would consist of characters from the past like the Brigadier and more current employees like the Osgoods and Kate Stewart. Osgood could be a character that can switch her appearance in order to access restricted areas now that I think about it. The Paternoster gang is an obvious choice for a Lego game. They have their own setting, which is in the Victorian era, and their characters are the closest to a Lego character. Of course, we can't forget about the Torchwood team. I still haven't watched Torchwood yet, so I don't know much about these guys, but I do know Captain Jack, and I know plenty of people would want him to be involved in the story. I could see him being an invulnerable character that can survive things like going through lava and acid and things like that. I'm sure there are more, both from classic and modern series, but remember, when thinking about who could be a good fit for outside help, you can also get people who have only been in one episode. For example, if we want a pirate level, we can use those pirates from the Matt Smith era. If we want a Rome level, borrow the characters from the Fire on Pompeii. Now that would be interesting.
Not the same.
We're not the same, I'm not.
It's not a secret that Doctor Who can be a pretty silly show. It's a show its audience can have a lot of fun with. That being said, the show can get very serious too. People love seeing our characters, especially the Doctor, face something that makes them question themselves, question what they're doing, and of course, makes them angry. We're real sick fucks. Well, when adapting this series into Lego, they are going to no doubt tone down the angst by a mile. They would probably focus more on jokes and extremely deep thinking. I wouldn't completely give up on serious moments though. There could still be moments where the Doctor has to stand up for something and give a big speech. Actually, now that I think about it, that's something they could make fun of too. The fact that it seems like the Doctor is giving a big speech at least once every incarnation. But yeah, just because the moon won't be that dark, doesn't mean that there can't be moments when the Doctor gets just the tiniest bit serious. This is the moment I've been waiting for. Just thinking about how big the hub world could be with Doctor Who is exciting. So let's talk about the obvious locations. To start with, we need a Batcave, an Avengers mansion, a base of operations, somewhere where we'll have to reconvene and where we can have everyone interact. And I think the best place is the 13th Doctor's TARDIS, which will act as our main TARDIS during the story. But being able to visit other TARDISes is an important feature that should be in this game too. In the Lego game, Lego Dimensions, depending on the Doctor you were, you could actually go into their TARDIS and see the interior of that TARDIS. That included the 8th Doctor's TARDIS. That's something we could have here. During the story, whatever Doctor you are should allow you to enter their TARDIS, whether that be classic or modern. If you're either done with the game or you want to take a break from the story, you would be allowed to change into whatever Doctor you've unlocked and enter their TARDIS. Not only that, also ride around in their TARDIS too, like a vehicle, which it technically is. Now as far as setting, of course one of them has to be London. It's a place the Doctor visits more than their home planet. It would be interesting having a hub that's basically London, but with Doctor Who characters everywhere, and a few Who places like the Black Archives. It would be like New York in Marvel's first Lego game. And just like in that game as well, the city would be filled with characters asking you to do something random and strange in order to collect their character for your roster. But it wouldn't be Doctor Who if we were stuck in one location. That's where the TARDIS comes in. With it, you'll be able to travel to other locations which will be throughout time and space. As far as time, you could have 2 or 3 points in history that you can teleport to. I'm not expecting hub worlds too massive or even as big as London because that'll be our main one. Small hubs with enough space to look good and host fun missions and Easter eggs would work just fine. So like a corner of Victorian London, including the Paternoster Gang's house. Another little hub would be, of course, Gallifrey. Now Gallifrey in the show, well, it hasn't really been explored much. I'm still waiting to see those silver trees Ten was talking about, because all I've seen so far is desert and snow globe. But since that has been all we've seen, no doubt the game would only show that as well. It would be nice if the game showed more of the world, but I doubt that'll happen, at least not in the hub world. Maybe for a mission. But concerning the hub world, I wouldn't hold my breath for the whole Citadel to be accessible either. I know I said this game would give creators more freedom, but come on. More realistic, we'd probably have access to a few sections of this President Tower's castle. Things like where all the TARDISes are located and the throne of the President. There's also the Matrix. All these places would have little missions that allow you to unlock some Gallifreyan characters. Something I remember from the LEGO Clone Wars game was that they let you go into enemy territory. But while you were there, if you're a Republic character, anyone on board would try to kill you. You know where I'm going with this? Imagine getting to travel to a Cybermen-controlled world, or Skaro. Like the other Cyb hub worlds, it doesn't need to be big. And while you're there, if you're not a villain character, you'll have to fight enemies while also doing little side missions to unlock characters. If they do decide to do Skaro, then similar to Gallifrey, it wouldn't be the whole city, but rather just the inside of Davros' base, and maybe the Dalek graveyard. Though if they're doing Matt Smith's Skaro like they did for LEGO Dimensions, then they could just take notes from that map. I have been hoping for a LEGO Doctor Who game for probably 2 years now. Ever since I saw what they did in LEGO Dimensions, I've had no doubt in my mind they could make something really good with this franchise and LEGOs. And not only that, this could also be a great way to introduce younger viewers to this show, bring in some fresh fans. They kind of need it. It'd be a good business idea, and the people at Traveler's Tales have already said that they'd be happy to make a LEGO game. It's really just up to BBC, and I have no idea why they haven't already said yes to this. What do you think? You think a LEGO game would help the show? If they did make one, would you buy it? Tell me down in the comments. Thank you guys for watching. If they do by some luck make this game, I'll be sure to cover it. I'm also covering the newest Doctor Who event, Timeless Victorious, so check out my first video if you haven't. And if you like this video, you can also click the like and subscribe button to see when I post next. Maybe in the future I'll go more in depth with how I would want the story for a LEGO game to go.